A warm welcome to your Barbados Today Evening News Update for Wednesday, May 12th. Our top story, there are no new COVID-19 cases at the Ellerslie Secondary School, but positive cases have increased at the Psychiatric Hospital. Word of this from Health and Wellness Minister Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic as he provided an update this evening while on tour at the Psychiatric Hospital today as part of celebrations marking International Nurses Day. He says investigations into the lone case at the school are continuing, but so far there's little cause for concern.
There are 28 students who would have attended the same class as the positive case and 6 teachers who were directly involved in terms of teaching and so on. And we have made a determination that those who we consider to be primary contacts, both teachers and students, those persons have been tested, and in fact we've invited all of the others to be tested as well. Yesterday we didn't have enough test results back to say anything. Today we do. All of the tests that we've done so far, and this would be first tests for the most part, they came back negative. We've also tested the parents of the positive case, and those results are also negative at this time. We've extended our testing to include some workplaces and so on, and those tests have been negative as well.
Dr. Kimberly Phillips, the medical officer for health at the Brantford Tate Polyclinic, who is managing the situation, revealed that the student who tested positive did not use public transport.
The primary case was one who took transport from her father and would have walked to home and to school otherwise. So the index case, or the one case that we have at the school, is not someone who used public transport at all. We are still going through with the other relatives, but at this point in time, remember there's no one else positive at this time related to that case. So we have no known contact with public transport at this point in time.
Meanwhile, the psychiatric hospital is still managing a COVID-19 outbreak, and according to Minister Bostic, new cases have been identified.
We have 5 positives associated with the psychiatric hospital cluster: 1 staff member, a nurse, and 4 patients. 1 staff member and 4 patients. That brings the tally here to 55 positive cases, comprising 3 staff and 52 patients, and those 52 patients are made up of 49 who are inpatients and 3 outpatients. So that is the situation here at the psychiatric hospital, and most of those positive cases are from the A ward, except for 1.
Frustrated former hotel employees today took to the streets just outside the Hilton Barbados Resort, pleading for their outstanding severance pay. The group, which included ex-employees from Accra Resort and the Barbados Hilton, are disturbed by the lack of communication from their former employers, and they are desperate for government to intervene. Our Kareem Smith has the story.
It's 5 months later, and we're back here once again. Former employees of the Accra Beach Hotel and Spa and a handful from the Hilton Barbados Resort are once again pleading with their former employer for outstanding severance. Late last year, some of the Accra workers received up to 70% of their severance after an intervention from the Minister of Tourism, Senator Lisa Cummins. But they say a promise to deliver the remaining 30% by the end of March has been broken.
We feel that the government should have come out and do something for us to make sure that we get what is ours. Accra said they don't have no money, but it's a lie. They have money because they could go and buy another hotel or restaurant, whatever, but still they say they don't have no money to pay us, which is wrong. We did our best in Accra. Now for these ladies here, struggle to stand all overnight for Accra, the bender, to do all kind of things. The work hard, extra hard. Things that we shouldn't be doing, we do. We sacrifice and do for them because we thought they was faithful to us. But enough 6 days, a lot of 6 days. But it's still a sacrifice for us now. They just turn the back on us. But we don't mind the turn the back on us. But they should have paid me and we get along with all lives. There shouldn't be only nothing in Accra all now.
If the hotel industry, the foreign currency coming in from them is the #1 earnings for the country, That should be number one on the Prime Minister's list, to make sure that everything is being done to make sure that the staff that are working do not get unfair. Because at the end of the day, them getting concessions, yes. I wanted to insist with that, but I will not put it on air. They are getting concessions, they are getting it. So if you are getting money, that's money back in your pocket. Why don't you use that same money there in turn to do something wisely with it? Help your staff.
You tell us to come and collect our stuff, dear former employee, not even a name. Clear your drawer or your lockers. Your personal belongings are going to be confiscated. That's after years of service. Years of service. You all know what it's like to work in that industry. And that applies to every hotel employee. When you are a hotel employee, you don't know the sacrifices. The sacrifices that you make. Okay, fine. It's a job, you sign up for it and you know the conditions. But you know what? We didn't expect that crap. You're given service. You are doing every single thing. You're working on public holidays, night shift, whether it be hurricane season. It is ridiculous. And you want to treat your employees that way. To tell us we are not in a position right now to pay, knowing the layoff period is over. There's no checks, you know. That's it. The layoff period is over. There's no money coming in. There's no money coming in. People are just sitting home like fools. And there's no money coming in. And you are telling us you are not in a position right now. But what is when? Please tell us something. The lack of disrespect is what I noticed in the hotel industry. And again, I said at the last protest, government has to look into that. Stop looking at occupancy levels.
The former ACCO workers were joined by ex-Hilton staffer Rodney Hines, who said he's still empty-handed after receiving a promise that he would have received his outstanding monies on December 31st last year.
Some people got theirs, I didn't get mine. A few others didn't get theirs either. So I want to really come out again. I is supporting the other hotels all from the beginning. And they're here this morning. We again coming together as a group to support each other and stand in solidarity with each other.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional happenings, police in Grenada are stepping up action to ensure citizens comply with the COVID-19 protocols. We get the details from GBN News.
Superintendent Cohen announced that more officers will be seen on the streets, checking businesses and bus loading stations to ensure that all protocols are followed.
Yes, as part of the visibility of our enforcement, you're going to see stricter enforcement on mask adherence. As I indicated, if you go to St. George's now, several persons are walking around without wearing the mask. As I indicated before, we have been very tolerant. We have been speaking a lot. We have been encouraging people to wear the mask. But based on what we are hearing now from the medical experts, it becomes critically important for us to again enforce the mask regulations. And to answer your question definitively, there are going to be tickets for masks. They're going to perhaps, be arrests for violations that are continuing, and you can expect to see, stricter enforcement of the regulations based on what we're hearing and based on where we're headed.
The superintendent gave a keen reminder to Grenadians that the island is still under a state of emergency and encourages everyone to be guided accordingly.
On the international scene, the Independent Panel for Pandemic Preparedness and Response says the catastrophic scale of the COVID-19 pandemic could have been prevented, but a toxic cocktail of dithering and poor coordination meant the warning signs went unheeded. More in this report from Euronews.
It reviewed the whole global pandemic and preparedness and response system, and the conclusion is that it failed to protect us from the COVID-19 virus that is now ravaging the world. And unless we act to change it now and fast, we will not be in a position to prevent a future pandemic threat down the line. And the experts also are deeply concerned and alarmed by the current and persistent high levels of transmission of the coronavirus right around the world right now.
So, John, has this report given any indication on what more could have been done or should be done to make things better if this happens again?
Well, yes, they're basically saying that the current global system for surveillance is not transparent enough and not sufficient enough, and it needs to be revamped to make sure we can pick up any potential pathogens that could turn into a pandemic fast. It also calls for establishing a Global Health Threats Council and to also invest in strengthening and getting a more independent World Health Organization. But they also talk about the rich countries chipping in more. They're basically saying that the G7 countries should provide at least 60% of the $19 billion that is currently needed for this year to purchase vaccines, diagnostics, and therapeutics, a sense of burden sharing, because as they highlight, out of more than 1 billion vaccines that have been delivered, 0.2% have gone to the poorest nations.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.